Hello, I am Nolana Lynch and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be sharing how I created my second story in my December daily album. But first up, let me just pop in my pages for my story number 1, which I really loved creating. There is an interactive journal piece, and I felt like I wanted to get it off of my desk and into my album before moving on to my next story. I love how this came out, just using the gems and some of the chipboard from this year's December daily collection. And I also have this interactive piece which I will glue down to the back of the table of contents. I'm still contemplating how to decorate this table of contents because I feel like I want to do something simple and cute, but I am not quite there yet, and so I will work on that this week and then pop in all of the titles for this week. I also realized that my Santa, I printed it on A4 paper and did it the full size of the paper and forgot to resize it to 11 inches, which is the width of this 10x8 album. So I will just have to cut off that inner edge, or if I want and it's not too long, I could add some trim on that side, which might be nice for the table of contents too. So this is where I'm at, and now I'm going to head on in and create story number 2. As you can see, at the point of recording this video, I have just finished creating story number 2, and I really love how it turned out. So this is a peek of it here. The right hand side is an interactive feature where I have photos and journaling behind that shaker pocket. So I'm really excited to share that process with you, and these are some of the other foundation pages that I do have within my album, as well as a completed story number 4, which was a lesson from this year's product play. So without further ado, I will link everything down below, but let's head into today's video. So I'm sharing the process of creating this shaker element. It is a Santa shaker pocket, and so there is the vellum above, and then I have this 4x6 Santa from the specialty paper pack. This was inspired by Ali's reason why a bit, because I loved her shaker for her reason why with the frame around, but I also wanted to give the shaker a forefront moment, whereas she tucked it into a beautiful envelope. So I felt like it would be perfect for this page where I introduced my daughter to Santa for the first time. We had our first Santa photo shoot with her. We do it every year since my son was born, so it was his 5th year doing a Santa photo shoot, which would be my next story. But I thought it would be cute to just introduce her first reactions to Santa, which is always cute. Now she is she would have been 9 months old at the time of this photo shoot, because I do it quite early. So she didn't cry, which the photographers said was like really great for a child her age. Like, she was the best baby that they've done, but she was still a bit confused as to who is this guy. So I did have quite a lot of photos. They captured a lot, and I'm just gonna stitch this down. So I didn't have to stitch it, but I thought it would have been a good opportunity to get some stitching in there just to keep it all together. And now, I'm not sure if you've used this tape before, but it's my first time. It's like a foam tape, but it's actually made out of silicone, so it's called silicone tape. And so it's just like the red line tapes, but it adds this a depth or thickness like a foam tape would. So this is my first time trying it out. It was on special from one of my local craft stores, like $2 or something. And so I'm like, okay, well, it looks cool because it's clear, so you may not see it poking out. It might give like just a cleaner finish than the foam tape does, is what I am thinking. But anyway, I thought it would be fun to use it behind this pocket. The only thing, as I anticipated, is that it is quite sticky. So like this side that you can see facing up and the back, because look at this, I'm like, it's stuck to my table right now. So I'm not sure how practical it would be, but it is a great idea. So I'm just pulling it up. And what I loved is that because it's clear, even if it pokes through, sometimes with projects like this, it might poke through slightly, but at least I feel like it'll give like a cleaner edge. Anyway, I thought I'd try it, because what else would we do if not for trying new crafty tools and supplies, because they're always so amazing. But because of this, because I suspected that it would be quite sticky, I decided to put an inner pocket on this, just so that my photos and journaling wouldn't stick to the tape. And I know sometimes you may have seen interactive features with pockets and whatnot where they create like a slider out of cardstock inside. So it's something similar in that concept. So these are the photos that I've printed for inside the pocket, and there are 4 photos. I am going to adhere them back to back once I cut them down, and I am excited about how this is all going to come together. So just cutting off my edges. Sometimes when I'm doing smaller photos on the A4, I do leave an edge versus printing it borderless, just so that the sizes of these photos will stay the same, because that's really important for me in this instance. And so a lot of times when I do borderless printing, I find that it actually expands the photo a bit. I feel like there is a setting that I've come across in the past in the printer dialog box to prevent that from happening, but I don't usually mind it for full-size photos, because I usually have enough like edging around my photos for that to be okay and not be an issue. But for things like this that are size specific, so I needed it to fit within the foam tape bit, so it made it about 5.5 to 3.5 inches with each photo, and I didn't want that to be much bigger, because if I have to cut things down, like Santa's hat may have been cut off, or a bit more of my dress, so I would have just had to spend some more time figuring out how to braid it down. So I printed it without the borderless setting, and then but then when I was cutting it, I wasn't too sure, because then I ended up with a bit of a white edge, which, most people may not see it. And then of course it's in an album where, I don't know how many people go through my albums outside of sharing it on social media and me creating it and getting that joy from creating it. My husband might come through and ask to see, he always shows interests, whether he's able to sit down and go through an album, because we have 2 young kids. It's not quite practical, and my son's at an age where he's really wanting to see things, and so I love showing him it through photos and videos. But yeah, anyway, so I just wanted to be sure that I guess in my personal desires that I cut off bits of these white edges, but just something to think of. Probably a colored bleed would have been better, because when I trim it down, then it would still maintain the colors of the photograph all around. So those are the things that I think about, and I think it's especially prominent during the summer daily season, when we're creating things like quite regularly, and you get to see firsthand, okay, maybe this, not that, or maybe I prefer this versus that, and I think it's a really beautiful process overall. So now I'm using vellum for the back, because yes, it was a dark green for the shaker pocket, so there probably isn't much see-through for the swans. And then of course with vellum behind it, it'd probably be even less. But I just thought the vellum would be a bit softer, and maybe because it's a bit smooth as well, may create more of a glidey process, but of course cardstock would have done pretty much the same thing. And yeah, there was no real reason for the vellum except for the fact that there may be an ever so slight see-through of the swans on the pattern paper, which I thought might be cute. And so once I saw that swan paper the first time around, I knew that I would use it for her, a story about her. I thought it was cute and whimsical. And then in prep day, Ali did a lesson about the significance of swans, which I thought was really great. And I wanted to use the title Grace and Beauty for something here, but I did forget to do that when I was writing up her journaling. Mainly because her middle name is Grace, which is after my grandmother. I'm sure I've shared that somewhere before. My grandmother was like my favorite person, and her name was Grace. So we've been naming our daughters middle names Grace, and I thought it was nice that the swans also reflected Grace, and so I made like tuck in another card and probably even another story around Grace and the swans in the pockets, because I do have space for that. And that's what these kind of elevated foam pockets provide. They provide a bit more width so that when you stuff the pocket, you know, it goes in a bit easier and whatnot. But you'll see that it was still quite snug a bit later on when I began putting my photos in there. But I guess in theory it's what it would do. So just adding in some double-sided tape here, and I am gonna adhere this part to the paper, and also so the front would be adhered to this silicone tape. So technically the vellum should have fit in that space between there, but it is a bit thick, and so in this situation I could have just deepened the folded parts of the vellum, but it was, you know, after midnight and I probably was just tired and didn't quite want to go back in. But just in case you are following this process, I thought I would share that for you. Probably just tucking it in, I would say like 1/8 of an inch in on both sides. I think what also happened was that when I used a scoreboard for this, I pulled a scoreboard which was in centimeters and not inches, and so it did have inches on the base, but the grooves for the inches weren't on like the 1.5, they were on the 1/8 and 3/8. So what ended up happening is that I did a 3/8 inch space on both sides versus a half, which it makes a big difference in a situation like this where now I couldn't get the vellum inside the space because it was just about 1/8 or so inch too wide. But I decided to just pop it in anyway. I feel like because of that I would still get some depth with the pocket. So this was me trying to like tuck it in some more to get some depth in there, and then I just roll with it. We have 25 stories for this project, and so part of my theology or philosophy for this is to just try my best not to sweat the small stuff, because it's a marathon and not a sprint. So yeah, I am now just trying to measure up where I put this on, because I was just gonna pop it on there and I was like, oh right, I should just make sure that it's straight. I could eyeball it, but I think I would be a little bit annoyed if I had to pull it back up. So like we're just talking about sweating and small stuff, but still I'd be a little bit annoyed if I had to pull it back up. But anyway, I decided to leave a bit more space above because I'm gonna put some tabs on the photos, but I feel like this is fine. I was about to pull out my T-square for this, and then I was like, no, Lana, just leave it. So I love how it looks. I love that the sequins are framing the base of the sign. I'm gonna put some words in there. But in the meantime, I'm just gluing down my photos back to back. And then I'm using some of these cute star tabs from the star kit this year. I am so excited about these, and I'm so excited to use them. I felt at first that I was gonna save them for another layout, but as you know how that goes, the month goes on, we hoard our pieces, and then next year we're looking through our stash randomly. We're like, oh, but I loved this so much last year. Why didn't I use it? So use all the things, or use all your favorites up front. I love what Ali does, where she pulls out her favorite things and the things that excite her the most and pops them into her album. I feel like that's such a great technique because it inspires you to use the things that you love versus hoarding them. So that's something I'm practicing this year. If you see my album, it's gonna be full of stuff. It's like a pile of stuff, and I almost feel like I should store it somewhere else, like in a box or whatnot, but then will I remember that they're there? I don't know, because every time I pull my album to like tuck a story in, like, you know, these loose pages are just like fluffing around in there. So I'm thinking about probably just having like maybe that December daily storage box that I have, and then each day just pull from that. What I've decided is that next I will probably share my organization of my album and my stories in my album next. Yes, this year we've been a bit shorter on time, and so I've kind of had to figure out how best to navigate that, and I felt like in this case I just wanted to dive into my first few stories. But when I finished this and I start working on story 3, my concept for story 3 remains the same, but my layout design, I'm kind of wanting to change that up a bit, and so I felt like it's a perfect time to pull out all of the sketches that I've made for the stories that I wanted to tell, and just kind of revisit that and remind myself of, you know, what I want to do for this first week or so and the next 25 days. Because for me it helps with not having design fatigue throughout, because it's a long period of time to be creating every day, and I love it and enjoy it, but the plan definitely helps me. So just gluing this other one down, and so you can see I was kind of hemming and hawing over where the tab should go, because I wanted tabs to be kind of interlocking from left to right. So what happens is that I'm actually having to pop them into place from right to left to ensure that that happens, not the other way around, which is what I may have been doing before. And so just adding a little extra adhesive onto the tabs, and then adding the second photo in. And now I'm gonna add the star photo to the left. In hindsight, and at the time, once I saw the star tab on the left, I felt like I would have liked it more to the right, like where that green tab is. Of course, now, yeah, I think I would have still, because it's a bit taller than the other two, so that's just how I feel now, but I'm not gonna do it over. But I just thought I'd mention that as well, just to flag it. So yeah, just gonna trim them. I have the journaling behind was I printed out on 4x6 cardstock, which has been a lifesaver for me, because it was just so cheap on Amazon, and it kind of just saves time. I think a lot of the parts of scrapbooking for me right now is have fun, and then just find little ways of kind of, you know, cutting down different parts of the process, it might seem like something simple. It's like wearing gray t-shirts every day, but having 4x6 cardstock already cut for me has helped me a lot. And this way I'm not like printing on photo paper, my journaling on photo paper, which is fine as well. But I kind of like, my journaling on cardstock, and I love that piece. So anyway, I decided I was thinking of putting the gold star that's on the sticker sheet in there, which I do have, but then I also thought of this glitter, the wonky star, and it's a bit big, but I do like it. And then I'll put the other gold star on the back, just to fill it in. Of course, I mean, probably dots would be really nice too, some like gold dots. But yeah, so many options, so little time. We could be crafting for December daily forever if we wanted to. I feel like one year I just want to do like December projects. But yeah, I think I always say that because it just makes me so excited. But alas, it's, we also have all the other everyday stories that are amazing and that I want to document as well. So popping into this envelope, I said it's a bit snug. I probably could have cut it down a touch more just to, eliminate that, which is what I may do for this one. And because it just, it was giving me a bit too much tug. I could have just given it a bit more belly and tucked it in, but yes, I decided to just shave it down just a touch, like this sliver, and it made a huge difference in getting it in there. Again, if you are someone who, you have family, children, grandchildren, people going through your albums more often, you may probably want to cut this down a bit more than I did. But for me right now in this season, I don't really have that. So I felt like it was okay to leave it like this. So yeah, this is the last one that I'm tucking in. And as I mentioned before, I may kind of print out that prep day one about swans and about grace and beauty and tuck that in there as well for reference. I thought that would be nice. But this is this side of the layout. I'm gonna add in some embellishments and words. So I found this from my stash, which is from Cast Designs. It says, "Dear Santa, love always." And so I got the idea because I'm gonna put a title in the middle to saying I've been good for my daughter. She really has been. And then I'm just gonna try and smush that in there with these alphas. And I love that they're the color of those ones in the back. I think that brings it together because the shakers are a lot of colors, but mostly blends in with the colors of this on the swans with the stars. So just kind of trying to center or ground the layout here in this instant, and popping in the words, "I've been good." I need a bit more space, so I shift these letters across to my left hand side. I'm a touch over Santa's fingers, but probably I could have used a smaller alpha. I do have a lot of smaller white alphas, so that's something that I could have done in this instance. I was wondering if another color would have been nice too, like a red or a gold, but I feel like the white gave me the most pop, especially because the background is a dark green. That's the dark green vellum specialty card 4x6, which says "Be Merry." So it's very subtle behind all of this, but still adds quite a bit of like just subtle texture. I love playing with subtle texture, and that makes me happy. It might whatever makes you happy in your design journey, I know that's what you're gonna do. I've been loving what I love, I think, most about this season is the community and everyone sharing and the excitement and whatnot. And that's been really great to see. I know quite a lot of hand stitching has been catching my eye, as usual, but I feel excited to try that in some upcoming layouts. So I have done it before in my previous albums, probably at least 1 or 2 layouts a year. I would do some hand stitching. But yeah, some years I probably don't at all. It just depends on where I'm at and what I have energetically and creatively to give during the season. So I'm putting Dear Santa, I've been good, love always, Taylor. So I use these gold ones here. Yeah, and I like how this has come together. Like a lot of times when I do layouts like this with pattern paper and outside and like a 4x6 or a 4x4, whatever on the inside, I don't typically embellish or decorate the pattern paper. I'll just allow that to be and to breathe and to be the beautiful background that it is. So this is probably one of the few times that I've added embellishments, but I do want to use bits of my stash and I look for opportunities to do that. So this was fun. Because I feel like Dear Santa Love Always, I mean, there are lots of other instances where in the past I could have used it like a letter to Santa. Maybe would have done well in my letter to Santa. But I feel like it would go well for like a sheet of paper with, where I type a letter to Santa and I put the Dear Santa on top, the love always below, and I sign. I feel like that would have been a nice, clean way to use it, which is what I've been saving it for. But there is always, so many things to use. So yeah, just some commentary on that. I love how this looks. I have my full-size photo printed out. I think especially for my professionally done Santa photos with the family, I try to do those at full size because they do come out really beautiful. They are kind of like dark, rich tones, which is very trendy this year. But I just love seeing them like that, and there are very few opportunities for us to use these, besides my December daily album, sharing with friends or family in the family groups. I use them for our Christmas cards every year. And so I really like, this is probably the biggest that I will see them off of my phone, will be in my December daily album. So I think I do make a point of doing them full sized. And so I think that's where I kind of struggled with the idea and the concept for my next layout, because I wanted to do it full size, but then I'm wondering, do I have too many full size photos already? But the next one is of my son, so we'll see what I decide to do when I work on it later today. But this is where I'm at with this layout, and I love how it's come together. I am excited for the rest of the season. The season has just begun, and I really just want to pace myself through it all and enjoy every moment. So thank you so very much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I really love having you here. I'm excited to know if you're working on your December daily this year. Do you work on it real time, or do you work on it after December and just savor the season?